Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we'll journey together into a touching and suspenseful story where a peaceful morning is suddenly shattered by a mysterious cry for help, leading to an unexpected encounter that will change lives forever. From moments of fear and uncertainty to the warmth of compassion and human connection, this is a tale you won't want to miss. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss our upcoming stories. The rain had only just let up, leaving the air thick and damp, each blade of grass glistening under a gray sky. Huyen, small and slight, stepped into the yard with a basket of soaking clothes pressed to her hip. The thatched roof above creaked as the wind pushed through, carrying with it something unusual, a muffled cry, thin and trembling, tangled with fear. "Help! Help!" She froze, heart hammering, eyes darting toward the dirt path leading to the village. There, through the wavering haze, came a frail figure, Luxie, her clothes torn, her face pale as though she'd stepped from a nightmare, staggered forward. Trailing behind her was Maya, Huyen's little daughter, eyes round with innocent confusion. "Mom, who's crying?" Huyen didn't answer. Her fingers tightened around the basket as unease swelled in her chest. Luxie crumpled near the fence, her desperate gaze locking onto Huyen's. The world seemed to hold its breath. The only sound the sharp, uneven gasps of the young woman lying there. In that suspended moment, Huyen felt an invisible weight, as if fate itself had handed her a question. Help or turn away? She set the basket down, knelt, and gripped Luxie's hand, feeling a faint warmth, fragile yet alive. "They're chasing me," Luxie whispered, voice trembling as if the words themselves might shatter. Huyen glanced toward the forest. Its shadowed edge seemed to lean closer, watching. Without thinking further, she pulled Luxie toward the back of the house, tucking her into a hidden corner, shielded by an old wooden plank. Maya stood still, fear flickering in her young eyes. Somewhere in the distance, footsteps echoed, heavy, deliberate, drawing closer. Darkness settled over the little thatched house, broken only by the faint glow of an oil lamp. Huyen stood in the yard, heart pounding as two figures emerged from the night, a man and a woman, their voices sharp enough to cut the stillness. "You!" the man barked, eyes glinting like a blade. "Did you see a girl run through here?" Huyen's hand instinctively found Maya's, holding it tight to steady her own voice. "She ran toward the stream," she said, her tone trembling but firm, pointing into the distance. The woman narrowed her eyes, suspicion curling in her gaze. "If you're lying, you'll regret it," she warned, stepping closer, her breath heavy and cold against the air. Maya pressed herself against her mother's leg, small fingers shaking. Huyen felt the danger pressing in. Every word she spoke balanced on the thinnest edge. Luxie was close, hidden only a few steps away, her breathing shallow and silent in the dark. "I'm telling the truth," Huyen repeated, her eyes fixed on theirs, refusing to waver. The man stared at her for a long, tense moment, then finally turned, dragging the woman with him toward the stream. As their footsteps faded, Huyen let out a slow breath, relief edged with lingering dread. She turned toward the hidden corner where Luxie waited, her chest heavy with the weight of what had just passed. Could she truly protect this girl from whatever hunted her? Outside, the darkness seemed to pause, watching. Dawn crept in quietly. its light slipping through the cracks of the wooden door. Huyen sat at the bedside, eyes fixed on Luxi, whose breaths came thin but steady. In the corner, Maya sat cross-legged, softly singing a folk tune, her clear little voice floating in the stillness. With a damp cloth, Huyen dabbed at Luxi's forehead, her mind heavy with questions she couldn't yet voice. Where had this girl come from? Why was she being hunted? She looked at Luxi's thin hands, reading in them a history of hardship she didn't know, but could somehow feel. The memory of those strangers' sharp voices still clung to her ears. "Mom, why is she sleeping so long?" Maya asked, tilting her head with pure curiosity. Huyen smiled faintly, masking her worry. "She's just tired, my dear." She rose and moved toward the stove to start a pot of porridge, every motion carrying an unspoken promise. Luxi would be cared for, no matter what shadows lingered behind her. The morning light brushed across Luxi's face, revealing not just fragility, but a quiet resilience. An odd bond had begun to form, as though the night before had woven their fates together. Birdsong filled the air outside, but inside Huyen's heart, a storm still churned. Concern, sympathy, and a sliver of fear for what might come next. She set the pot on the fire and murmured in her thoughts, "Luxi must live." The sound was faint at first, almost blending into the gentle rustle of leaves, but Huyen's sharp ears caught it. Her eyes darted toward the bamboo grove at the edge of the yard. The damp earth squished under her bare feet as she ran, the hem of her skirt brushing against the wet grass. She pushed past the bamboo stalks, the air cooler here, shadows dancing across her face. There, between the tall green stems, lay a figure, a woman, soaked through, her hair tangled and sticking to her pale skin. Huyen knelt beside her, gently shaking her shoulder. "Are you okay? Can you hear me?" Huyen's voice was calm but urgent. The woman's lips moved, but only a broken whisper escaped. "Help. Please." Huyen didn't waste a second. She hooked her arms under the woman's and heaved her up, feeling the dead weight of exhaustion in her body. It was a slow, awkward walk back to the house, every step sinking slightly into the muddy ground. The woman's head rested limply against Huyen's shoulder. Inside, the small living room smelled faintly of herbal tea and damp firewood. Huyen laid the woman down on a woven mat and quickly fetched a blanket, wrapping it around her trembling form. Her skin was ice cold. Huyen poured warm water into a clay cup and pressed it to her lips. The woman sipped slowly, as though every drop took effort. Once she seemed stable enough, Huyen crouched beside her. "What happened to you? Did you get caught in the rain?" The woman's eyes flickered open, dark, deep, but clouded with something unspoken. I don't remember clearly. There was a storm, and then voices and pain." Her words broke into silence, as though speaking cost her more than she could give. Huyen's brows knitted. "Where are you from?" she asked softly. The woman hesitated, her gaze unfocused. I don't know." That answer sent a chill through the room. Huyen didn't press further. Instead, she tucked the blanket tighter around her and quietly began preparing a small meal. Rice porridge with ginger, simple but warm. As the porridge simmered, Huyen's mind spun. Who was this woman? Why was she out there, alone, half-conscious, with no memory of where she belonged? Her instincts told her there was more beneath the surface, something shadowed and dangerous. By nightfall, The rain had started again, a soft but steady rhythm against the thatched roof. Huyen lit an oil lamp, its golden glow pooling across the floor. The woman, still weak but now able to sit up, ate slowly, each spoonful seeming to ground her a little more in the present. When the bowl was empty, she murmured a quiet thank you, her voice fragile. Huyen smiled reassuringly. You should rest. We'll figure things out in the morning. The next day broke clear, the sun glinting on leaves still jeweled with raindrops. Huyen had already been up for hours, tending to chores, but her mind kept drifting back to her guest. She peeked into the room and found the woman awake, sitting cross-legged on the mat, staring at her hands as though they might hold answers. Feeling any better? Huyen asked. The woman nodded slightly. Yes, but I keep trying to remember, and it's like chasing smoke. Every time I think I've caught it, it slips away. Huyen pulled up a stool and sat beside her. It's okay. Sometimes memories come back when you least expect them. For now, just focus on getting your strength back. A small smile tugged at the woman's lips. Thank you for not turning me away. The days passed slowly, marked by small improvements. The woman, whom Huyen started calling Lan, helped with simple tasks, washing vegetables, sweeping the floor, folding laundry. Each evening, they sat by the lamp and shared quiet conversation. Sometimes Lan's eyes would glaze over mid-sentence, as if a fragment of memory had drifted past her mind, but it always slipped away before she could grasp it. Then, one afternoon, while hanging clothes to dry, Lan froze. Her fingers clenched the damp fabric. Her breathing quickened. Huyen noticed immediately. What is it? Lan turned to her, eyes wide. I remember. A road. Long. Winding. And someone was following me. She swallowed hard. I think I was running away from something. Huyen's stomach tightened. From who? I don't know, Lan whispered, but I know it wasn't safe. That night, sleep eluded Huyen. She kept replaying Lan's words, wondering if danger might be closer than they thought. Out here, in a small rural village surrounded by forest, news traveled slowly, but trouble had a way of finding its path. After a morning rain, Huyen steps into the yard to collect damp laundry,
một cô gái
and
trẻ
she
bị
hears a
thương
faint
được một
cry
cặp
for
vợ chồng
help,
già sống lâu trong
carried by the
rừng
wind.
hoang mang. Dù không nói được,
Following the
cô
sound,
dần tìm thấy sự
she
bình yên trong
discovers
căn
a
nhà mộc mạc
soaked,
lặng lẽ ấy.
unconscious young
Nhưng
woman
sự
lying by the roadside. With her neighbor's help,
Tự kỳ
they
một
bring
cô
the
gái
girl
trẻ bị
inside,
thương được một cặp vợ chồng già
offering
sống lâu
warmth
trong
and
rừng
care.
cưu mang.
When the girl
Dù không nói được,
awakens,
cô vẫn dần
she
tìm
seems
thấy sự
frightened,
yên bình trong căn nhà mộc mạc
disoriented,
lặng lẽ ấy.
and unable
Nhưng
to
sự yên
recall
ổn
her
chẳng kéo
name
dài bao lâu.
or how she ended
Một
up
đêm,
there.
họ tiếng chuông điện thoại
Gradually, Huyen learns
vang lên phá
fragments
vỡ
of the
bầu
girl's
không khí
past,
tĩnh mịch,
hints
và
of
cô nhận
danger
ra rằng ai
and
đó
escape from an
từ quá khứ
unknown
kinh
threat.
hoàng của mình vẫn đang theo dõi
Despite
cô,
the uncertainty,
gần hơn cô từng nghĩ.
Huyen's compassion
Một người
grows,
đàn ông bí ẩn xuất hiện trước
determined
cửa,
to protect
ánh mắt lạ lùng
but as
của hắn
unsettling
khiến cô
events
run lẩy
begin to
bẩy
unfold in
tận
the
đáy lòng.
village, questions
Nhưng bên trong
arise.
cô, điều gì
Who
đó
is this
bắt đầu
girl?
thay đổi. Cô
And
không
what
còn
has
là
she
cô gái
brought
yếu
with her?
đuối.
The
Tử kỳ
quiet
bắt đầu
morning
lột
has
xác.
set in
Cô
motion
cảm nhận
a
từng
chain
cơn
of
bão
events
chưa hề
that
tan,
will test trust,
mà mới chỉ quay trở
courage,
lại.
and
Và lần
faith.
này cô sẽ không gục ngã.